in the previous program, you can see that the matrix B is getting created within the loop, one entry at a time. In fact, we saw first matrix B only had one value, and then it had two values, then it had three values. Then when we went to put a value in row 2, the placeholders were inserted. So B is getting bigger. Every time you loop through this program, B is increasing in size. And then Matlab has to go in and keep reallocating space for this array. And if you're working with a big array, this can cause huge time delays in your computations. So if you know ahead of time how big your array is going to be, you should pre-allocate space for that array by making the array filled with some numbers. It could be filled with zeros, it could be filled with ones, it could be filled with anything you wanted to fill it with, just to get the space allocated in memory. So here would be a better way to write that code that we just looked at. You can see the only thing that I've changed is line 2. I have B is equal to zeros, size of A. So now B, before you even hit the loop, is a 3 by 3 matrix full of zeros. And then as we loop through, we replace those values with what we want them to be. Now, there's lots of other ways that you can create arrays besides manually typing numbers in. You already know we can pull in data from an Excel file and pull that in as an array. This first function, start, increment, maximum, you've used that multiple times to create a vector of values for the x-axis when you're plotting. You've also used the command linspace before. Linspace, start, end, number of points. Couple that you haven't seen before, I, n comma n, creates an identity matrix. If you don't know what an identity matrix is, we are going to talk about that in a later video, but it's basically a matrix that has ones down the diagonal and zeros everywhere else. Zeros, n comma m, creates a n by m matrix of all zeros, and ones, n comma m, creates an n by m matrix that's all filled with ones. And we'll talk about why you might want to create a matrix full of zeros or a matrix full of ones a little bit later. I also have some random functions that will randomly create a matrix of whatever size I want with various values filled in. So RANDI stands for random integer, and I can create a vector of random integers going from imin to imax, and it's an m by m vector, and we're actually going to do this a little bit later on. There's another function called rand n, and that will create a vector of random numbers that are normally distributed with a mean of 0 and a standard deviation of 1. And if you're not familiar with the term normally distributed, I bet you are familiar with a bell curve. You've seen a bell curve before. IQ is distributed along a bell curve. SAT scores are distributed along a bell curve. Same thing here with RANDN. It is centered at 0 with a standard deviation of 1. RAND creates an n by m matrix of random numbers that are uniformly distributed on the interval from 0 to 1. This means any number from 0 to 1 is equally likely to appear in this matrix. And randperm picks unique integers to go into the matrix. All right, so indexing vectors in Matlab. Suppose we create this vector x that has these values. X has 8 values in it. If I refer to x, I'm referring to all 8 of the values in the vector x. If I want to go in and yank out one particular value out of this vector x, I have to index into the vector x. In Matlab, array indexing starts with 1, and those of you that have some experience with Java or C are going to find this extraordinarily frustrating until you get used to it, because in those languages, the first element in an array is actually entry 0. But with Matlab, the first element in an array is entry 1. So if I do x parentheses 1, that's referring to the first element in the vector, which in this case would be -5. If I do x and in parentheses 2, that refers specifically to the second value in that vector x, which in this case is 2. I could yank out sets of values. So if I do x3:7, that's going to produce a vector that contains entries 3 through 7 of my original vector x. If I want to find out how many entries are in a vector x, I can use the length command. Length of x will produce exactly how many entries are entered into that vector x. So let's take a look at an example. Same vector we just took a look at. Couple of Matlab commands. If I type at the Matlab command prompt x of 3, it's going to pull out the third entry in matrix x, which is 1. So I get x of 3, answer equals 1. If I type x2:6, this is going to pull out the second entry through the sixth entry, and I'm going to get those entries in a vector. So if I type x2:6, I'm going to see a vector come back that has entries 2 through 6 in it. I can do weird stuff too. If I type x1:2:8, you've seen this before. You know what that means. That means start at 1, increment by 2, end at a number that's no larger than 8. So if we count our way through this, this would be entry 1, entry 3, entry 5, and entry 7. Now, why you would want to pull every other entry like that out, I don't know, but you can do it if you want to. And finally, I don't even need a pattern. I can go in and I can say, hey, I want the first entry in x, the sixth entry in x, and the 8th entry in x. And I can pull those out also. Now, if I want to index into a matrix, that's a little bit different because a matrix is two-dimensional. So instead of just specifying an entry number, I actually have to specify which row the element is in that I'm trying to get and which column that element is in. So let's assume that we have a matrix A and it has at least 4 rows and 7 columns. If I type A3:5, that means that I am pointing to the value in the matrix A that is sitting in row 3, column 5. If I do A3, colon, the 3, clearly that's the first entry, so it's talking about row 3. The colon is actually a shortcut that says take row 3 and all of the columns in row number 3. Now, I could be more specific about that, but that's a nice little shortcut for grabbing out the entire row 3 sitting in matrix A. I can reverse that, and if I do A:2, that means that I want to pull out column 2, and I want to pull out all of the rows that are sitting in column 2. And again, I can pull sections of this matrix out. So if I did this A2:4, 3:5, that would pull out everything that in A that was in rows 2 through 4 and in columns 3 through 5. If you want to know how many elements, how many rows and columns a matrix has, you can use the size command. So if I type rows, columns equals size of A, rows is going to come back as the number of rows in my matrix A, and the variable COLS will come back as the number of columns in matrix A. So let's do an example. And you can see here that I wasn't patient enough to type all the entries in a matrix. I just went ahead and used the random integer command. So this random integer command, RANDI, the first vector there, 0 to 10, says that I want integers that only range from 0 up to 10. And then the second vector, 4:5, says how big I want my matrix to be. And in this case, I want my matrix to have 4 rows and 5 columns. And you can see, sure enough, I get a matrix. All the numbers in that matrix are from 0 up to 10, and it is a 4 by 5 matrix, 4 rows, 5 columns. If I type that command in Matlab 3 or 4 times, I'm going to keep getting a different matrix every time because it's a random generation of these values. So if I type at the Matlab command prompt matrix 2, 3, that should go to row 2, column 3 of the matrix. And what I have sitting in row 2 and column 3 is 10. So it comes back with 10. If I type matrix colon, 4, that means all rows in column 4. And if I look at column 4, my column 4 is 2825. And sure enough, that's what I get back as a column vector. If I do matrix 3, 2, 4, that means go to row 3 and pull out everything from columns 2 to column 4. Well, if I go to row 3 and I go to column 2, 3, and 4, I have the values 1, 3, 2. And that's what I get. If I do matrix 2, 3, 3, 5, that means to go to rows 2 and 3, pull out everything that is sitting in columns 3 through 5. So that's actually going to pull out a section of values, and I'm going to get a 2 by 3 matrix. So that's how you index into a matrix. If I refer to matrix itself, that's all the values. That's all 20 values sitting in that. If I want to refer to a section of that matrix, or I want to grab out a specific value of the matrix, I have to use this idea of indexing. What row or rows is it in? What column or columns is my information in? And these functions we already talked about, size of A and length of A, you're going to find those to be extraordinarily useful functions. Size of A will tell you how many rows and how many columns a matrix has. Length, you're only going to want to use this for vectors. It will tell you how many entries there are in a vector. It's not particularly useful for matrices because it gives you the largest dimension, but that doesn't tell you whether it's giving you back rows or columns. So for matrices, always use size.